Hello and welcome back to the TMC TTT. That's right, the Mana Clash Team Trios Tournament. I am Sam Loy and I'm joined once again by the lovely Russell Cutting.
We are back, and while that would normally mean we are better than ever, just remember that past performance is not indicative of future results.
That's true, scientifically speaking. All right, so we've got a great match for you right now. So we have Socrates versus Ed Nurse coming up right now. And in this matchup, Russ, can you run us through the decks?
Well, a couple of Adelaide locals bring a couple of combo piles. We have Oath Reanimator, which we saw a little bit in round 3 yesterday, piloted by Ed Nurse. And Socrates, or Soc as he likes to be called, is piloting a Tinker Citadel Storm list. Lots and lots of spells in a short amount of time.
Okay, so both players ready to go for game 1. We have 7 cards aside by the look of this, and they're ready to go. All right.
So looking at the hands, Ed Nurse got a little bit of interaction there in the Inquisition Cosleg, bit of card selection, Faithless Looting, and Brainstorm. And on Soc's side, looks like a Pentad Prism, a couple other little bits of ramps and pieces. You won't see any counter magic out of Socrates' side due to the nature of being a Citadel combo deck. So a little bit lackluster there. All of their interaction comes in the hand of hand permission spells.
All right, so we've got Socrates on the play here and leading with an Underground Sea. Let's see if it resolves.
The Underground Sea, likely to resolve.
Yep.
Taxian Probe, maybe less so.
We'll have to find out.
Okay, so Atraxa, Reanimate, Faces Looting. That is a turn to Atraxa with a little bit of protection there.
That is an excellent start here. Unlike yesterday, Ed Nurse can actually go get a Badlands turn 1.
Indeed.
And do something about Soc's hand.
He's kept a hand with 2 lands in it, which is unusual for Ed. Normally opting to keep 1 land hands only.
Yeah. And we welcome Ed back to coverage, and Ed will watch this later and enjoy.
Curse our names. Bayou drawn off that Cataxian Pro for Soc, who is just working out how they finish the rest of their turn. Maybe a Preordain there, I think, in the middle of the hand, or a Ponder to the left.
Okay, so we lead off with the Ponder here. Let's see, 3 of the best cards.
All right, so Chromatic Star, and I believe that might be a Ever-Flowing Chalice in the middle there. Soc relies on a lot of kind of artifact rampy, single-use cards in order to get to that Bolus of Citadel, and then also as fuel to basically continue to combo off once that kind of Pillar Stone card resolves.
Excellent. So we've just heard that there is a judge call on the neighbouring table there, but all good. We're going to keep seeing this.
One of the wrinkles of team tries is you hear judge calls, and it might not be for this one.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got our 3 tables of some of the best in the country.
All right, Scalding Tarns. What do you think that's going to find? His freshly minted Volcanic Island from yesterday, coming in the top 4.
Yeah, top 4 finish for Ed yesterday.
There
which
it
is
might
excellent.
be. Or are we going to see the contentious Badlands? No one can.
I mean, I really want it to be the Badlands. He's got to get this playoff once.
Yes, well, correctly fetching for Badlands with the correct banner this time. He's going to make sure.
Okay.
I wouldn't be surprised to, just see that Faceless Looting played out. He's face up. He might go for the Inquisition this turn, but I wouldn't be surprised more to see it next turn to check the way before deploying that Reanimate.
So we see the Inquisition, and I think this might be one of those moments where us knowing the deck list and knowing what our players are on is different to what our feature match is doing. So
yes, the Ivory Tower conundrum.
The Ivory Tower conundrum once again. Although we are just very smart at this.
Yes, that is definitely the excuse we can use. So, as we saw, Chromatic Star, Pentad Prism, Preordain, and a few lands. Going to take the card selection as the kind of unique piece in this hand. So Soc has nothing but mana. A little bit of gas in that Chromatic Star for a rebuy, but no any of the selection that Preordain provides.
Yeah, so I think we're fairly likely to see Soc settings mana up with this Pentad Prism here, but we'll see what they've drawn for the turn.
I mean, if he does, then he's just not representing any sort of counterplay for that Faceless Looting Reanimate next turn. And although I guess
we're 1 colour away for Ed's play there, but you know, given Ed's likeliness to draw lands off the top and find solutions based on that, I think it's actually an okay place to be. We've seen the Orchard and a Ponder there for the face-down cards
so forbidden.
from Ed. So, yes, we can forbid an Orchard and also resolve an Atraxa, and that seems like a good deal to me.
Yeah. Looks like it'll be the heads-up play. Looting first. There's get the kind of complete optionality. Oh, no, maybe I'm wrong again. Ed.
So leading on the orchard, I actually don't believe there's much reason to do this other than play around days. So Ed probably having a think about whether days is an option here.
Side that's worth playing around. And the Attractor as well as a Iona.
So Iona early here could be really interesting. Sock on a artifact combo deck makes Iona a little less effective than you'd usually see. So let's see which option Ed goes for with the target.
That said, he has only seen, he sees multiple coloured lands, but only blue spells thus far. Looks like he might be pulling the Iona and...
Naming blue's not a bad idea.
Yeah, sniffing out that he's probably playing against the combination strategy, and in order to kind of mitigate that.
Once again, a combination mage.
Well, combinations make for better combinations.
Indeed. So we see the dreaded turn 2 reanimate for Iona there, which is a good place for Ed to be. One of the elite turn 5 finishes that Ed is so known for.
Yes, well, 3 hits, done.
3 hits and we're
1, 2,
done.
3.
7, 7, and 7.
Even less due potentially to the nature of those fetch lands that Socrates has in their hand there. But Sock is getting to untap with up to 5 mana this turn. And Ed is tapped out with a couple of unknowns, maybe there can't be a Daze because there's no island. So they'd need something like a Force of Negation or Force of Will to protect themselves if Sock decides to pull the trigger on this turn, which could happen as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a big mana turn. And are we going for both counters?
Yeah, I would imagine so. Holding.
All right. Aetherflux Reservoir. So this is going to change the math a little bit for our Edward.
Yes, that buys a couple extra turns potentially, as well as, not exactly offering a, threat of lethality at this point, but...
it'll at least gain some life here at some point, should Socrates need to effectively fog the Iona for a turn or two.
We'll need to play at least kind of 2 to 3 spells on a single turn to get above that initial threshold.
It creates an interesting value proposition here, doesn't it? So are we going to hold the Chromatic Star here to wait for a turn where we can actually buy a turn from the life we've gained? Or do we play it out right now and get that mana back for having it as a crack on the following turn?
Yeah, and potentially provide a little bit of velocity in future turns.
Yeah, a bit of filtering.
So just working out what land to fetch here.
It's Underground Mortuary after all that. And we're going to see a Surveil here from Sock.
Do you think we'll see an attack in with that Spirit?
I wouldn't recommend it.
No?
No, not personally, but I've been surprised this weekend.
Bit of a bluff attack?
A bluff attack, yeah,
some sort of combat trick out of the...
Could have Giant Growth or anything.
Giant Growth would not do it.
No, okay.
But it would be good. Sock's going to get on the tank here.
So we've got the Surveil trigger, still resolving bulk. Look at this.
Yep. And he's left it on top. Right.
All right.
Ed Nurse with a 7/7 Angel. Not exactly sure as to what colour was chosen.
I presume blue, but we're going to work under that assumption.
Yep. So see another reanimated target in that Archon of Cruelty, as well as a Ponder, which we're going to see potential. Oh, black. Okay, so bit of conversation there. Looks like Iona is on black. And remember, Iona is not a symmetrical effect.
No, not a symmetrical effect at all.
So only Socrates is prevented from playing black spells, notably. Ponder to kind of kickstart this turn off and see if we can find another kind of nail in the coffin. And that Necromancy there might speed things up.
Yeah, we don't quite have the mana for it this turn, but it's going to do the work. Interesting that Ed has picked black here. What do you think went into that decision?
Well, I guess you've seen just the black sources off of the mana itself, and just a way to deal with Iona if it's a removal spell. It's still under the assumption, that it might be not a hard combination deck. Pentad Prism a little bit of an indicator. Obviously now with the Aetherflux Reservoir, which was cast after the Iona, might be maybe making him think he may have chosen the wrong color, or maybe not the most correct color. That is to say.
Yeah, it's interesting. So Ed really valuing the threat here and making sure this 7/7 sticks around, and we close the window on the draw steps from Sock here. I think that it's an interesting choice, and this is what happens when you're working with imperfect information on deck lists.
We are closed deck list still this weekend, even in teams, which just allows that little bit of a question and answer.
Yeah, absolutely. So on to turn 4 here. A Spirit, a Pentam Prism with no counters.
Yep, now just a good thing to tinker away.
Yes, yeah. Just because it can't do anything by itself doesn't mean it's valueless.
All right, so 1 spell for the turn. 1.
1 spell. Can I get a 2? Let's see.
Can we get a second spell? Looks like we have 2. A Portent.
A Portent. An important portent.
This important portent will portent whose library?
Yeah, so Portent, an interesting spell. For those not in the know, Portent is sort of like a slow ponder, but it can target your opponent. So you can stack your opponent's deck, top 3 cards.
So we got a Thoughtseizer LED, and I'm not exactly sure on that first one there.
It looks like LEDs quickly going to the what will be the top of the library.
Okay. Well, they won't get access to that this turn, although the Chromatic Star will allow them to draw that top card if required. And we've got a delayed draw trigger.
It looks like we're shuffling it away instead. Right. Okay.
Not quite what we're looking for.
Interesting. I haven't shuffled too many LEDs away in my lifetime.
Historically quite a powerful card. Most of the Black Lotus does have a slight downside in losing your entire hand in the process. But
absolutely true. But
just as good on recurrence as a Black Lotus.
Indeed,
can,
indeed.
Kind of make multiple instances of mana.
Yeah. So it's not feeling like they're sorted out as far as mana is concerned, maybe looking for a little bit more action instead.
Yeah, a bit more velocity. They still have essentially 2 more kind of digs at something. And, right.
All right, we're going for the double shuffle.
Yes.
Why not randomize the deck twice in a row?
Look, there is such thing as shortcutting, but if you shortcut, you might not enjoy the entire journey.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Sometimes it's better to take the long way, fellas.
Yeah. And looks like we're getting yet another Surveil land to hopefully make that Chromatic Star just a little bit better, and doing so this way so as to not lose any extra information.
Interesting to see 2 Surveils in your own turn there from Sock. It's one of the plays that is something that can change in value depending on what you have on board. So clearly Sock there valuing the ability to draw the top card off the Chromatic Star this turn.
Yes. Like they're really kind of feeling a little bit of the pressure from that enormous angel.
Yeah, it's one of the bigger ones in the game.
Quite large, quite in charge, has a large sword.
Yeah, and 6 wings.
Yes, the Angels of Zendikar certainly are a little bit weird.
Look, if you're a 7/7, I don't think just 1 pair of wings is going to keep you upright.
No, 7 wings will make more sense, though.
Oh, that's true.
It's a biblically accurate magic angel.
Indeed.
All right, that spirit is getting frisky. 1 damage back. Ed down to 9 because that reanimate did deal a big chunk of change.
But Ed's not afraid. He's going to give us another spirit to Sock.
Doubling his clock.
Doubling his clock.
Essentially doubling.
And we see a Whirly Tutor.
I have a suspicion that it may be a Metamorphosis Fanatic.
There is no way of knowing. Actually, there is. Here it is.
There we go. Yeah. We do know because it is a requirement of the card to reveal to all players the target of the card.
Good stuff. Okay, so Metamorphosis Fanatic going to the top of library, going to get miracled on the draw step when we go to Ed's turn.
He may elect to draw it.
He may elect to draw it. We'll see. We've seen stranger plays this weekend.
We certainly have. But I do have faith in Edness. And delayed trigger of that portent, finally resolve.
Yes.
And who would have seen this coming? A miracle.
It's Ed, just rips it off the top there.
It's really good when that card at the top of your library, and there's no way of working out how exactly it got there. Atraxa.
So we're going to get a rather large draw trigger here. So look at the top 10, and you may select a card of each type to place into your hand.
2 7/7 Angels. If we get a Grizzlebrand, we got the full Monty.
That is the full Monty indeed.
Triple sevens.
Triple sevens. Atraxa getting it done with just 1 pair of wings, though.
Yes, they are strong. They are sturdy. I do enjoy Ed's way of revealing the Atraxa. Just putting it in a pile straight away. Just really kind of getting it done.
Helping us all out, really.
Yes.
I think I very much appreciate it as someone on coverage, but I'm sure the opponents also appreciate it as an ability to receive that information a lot quicker than having to shuffle through the cards or anything like that.
So decision points now just down to the sorcery, whether we want the Bone Shards, Collective Brutality, or Exhume. Necromancy selected over Animate Dead, and the blue-black fetch selected over the other 3 fetches.
So looking like we're thinking about the Collective Brutality here just to
Yeah.
get our way around any future interaction that Ed has no idea about yet. So we see a Necromancy, a Polluted Delta, Collective Brutality, and a Coma.
The World Eater.
The World Eater, yes, one of the Comas.
So I would not... have we seen a land drop this turn?
We've not seen a land drop yet.
So I would not be surprised to see a kicked, potentially, escalated Collective Brutality here, just to, drain and gain a bit, just to give them a little bit more of buffer there, and also to make sure they're clearing the way for a extremely lethal board.
Okay, so we're going to attack with the Ino first.
Yep.
Bringing Socrates down to 5 life points.
Good communication between players there. And we'll fetch that down.
Maybe. Ooh. Let's see what we're working with here. So yeah, a fetch on the Polluted Delta.
Yep. Okay. That I get a Underground Sea potentially. Yeah.
The world is Ed's oyster at this point.
Well, we are going for the sea, so
And we're going to the
oysters
sea.
abound.
Oysters abound underground.
Quite briny.
Quite briny. I mean, look, if someone's going to be salty, it better be because of seafood.
See anyway. And another spirit tripling Socrates' clock here.
Okay, so we see the Collective Brutality, and we're going to have to see how many times it's escalated. Escalate, a little used keyword, but it is essentially a kicker that allows you to select another mode of the card. Amongst the small cycle cards with Escalate include paying mana and discarding cards like we're seeing here on this Collective Brutality.
So practically multi-kicker.
Practically multi-kicker, or choose one or more options, but pay, I don't know.
Modal kicker.
Modal kicker. We've seen a few cards with this mechanic, but under a couple of different names. So it's an interesting one that they haven't gone back to it.
So going for the pseudo-duress option, except it only hits instants and sorceries, unable to touch that Mox Opal in Socrates' hand, but at the same time, quite useful to know the entire contents.
Yeah, with 14 power in the air, and Atrax has got double lifelink at the moment, which has no impact on the game at all, but quite interesting.
Lifelink, yes. And unfortunately doesn't stack like Soul Link does.
No, it does not.
Where it has 2 instances of whenever this creature deals damage, gain much life, and it does not use the stack.
It does not use the stack at all. There's no trigger. So Socrates really wanting a good card off the top here to to find a way from being closed out by Ed on the following turn. We see the first spell being the Mox Opal to gain 1 life, going to 4. Got that 1 face down card, and it better be good.
Metal Graft is on, 1 more little rebuy off the Chromatic Star. I mean, a Tinker is still probably going to just do it.
Absolutely, absolutely. A powerful deck. So blue and pool, we see the card off the top, a dramatic reveal of a card that is going face down.
Face down, where we can't see it, that is Socrates' information only.
Okay, fair enough.
It is to be revealed only to those worthy of knowing.
It seems that the mana is being utilized for a Sensei's Divining Top. So that is a card which is going to offer us a few more looks at the library.
Yes, but we don't have another draw spell.
So the top can draw itself.
The card. Right.
So
yes.
something in the top 3 will do it. And we've also got that Marsh Flats yet to be played. So if there's nothing in this top 3, we have a shuffle effect as well.
It'd be really good if I knew how cards work.
Make my life a lot easier.
Unfortunately. Oh, a Brainstorm.
So we have Brainstorm.
Unplayable Thoughtseize and Bolas' Citadel.
And Bolas' Citadel.
Also unplayable.
Yeah, no mana to do it. So a very good card, a very powerful card in this deck, but you do need 6 mana, and there's no way to cheat it out currently available.
Even if you had 6 mana, there's a Iona tapping the do not play sign.
Oh, that's also true. Yeah, it is a black artifact. There we go.
Womp, womp. Arena would have a really cool little womp, womp, womp.
And then I would ignore it
Yes.
and then not realize why it's not working. Get really mad on stream.
Yes.
Yeah.
Start emoting furiously at your opponent.
Nice. Okay, so we're going back in the tank. Socrates, a known diver. We're going to see the Marsh Flats hit the board. I imagine we're going to see a shuffle after some thought.
Yes, at the moment, no real way. Although you could draw the Brainstorm and then shuffle and then play the Brainstorm.
Yeah, very true as well.
Which may be what is happening.
To be honest, I think here I would value the top more if we are doing a shuffle.
So seeing that Marsh Flats. Going down to 5 life here. Deliberate, precise. These words can be used to describe Socrates' play. And just a good little indicator there from Ed Nurse to work out exactly how many spells cast, because there are pauses between game actions which can lead to hopefully no miscommunication between these players. And a watery grave there going down to 3.
That's a nice print of that card.
Foil, old bordered. I almost got into these.
Almost.
Yeah, I've got the original Ravnica, so I just kind of like them better.
Sometimes nothing tells me more about an opponent's personality than the cards they've chosen to play.
Yes, I just like the guild symbols in shiny. It's really nice.
Quite nice.
And we're going to see that Brainstorm.
Okay, here's the Brainstorm. So we're going to see the
number 3.
Spell number 3, top 3 cards of the library.
Gaining 3 life.
Yep.
Up to 6. Wild Ritual, unplayable. Something else. Zero Orb.
Okay, so we've got a judge call at the table. Some misunderstanding about the number of cards in hand here. We'll get a solution nice and quickly. So I believe the issue to being talked about at the table here is whether or not 4 cards were drawn off the Brainstorm.
Yeah, we're just looking at the hand now. Our excellent judge there. So just confirming, there's been a lot of actions, a lot of spells played this turn, a lot of kind of triggers to keep track of. We're just resolving that one now.
Okay, yeah. So it looks like there has been an additional card drawn by the Brainstorm, but we will just have to pause and wait with us to see what the result is. Russell.
Yes, Samuel.
Now, with this matchup,
yes,
who do you believe is favoured overall?
I think it's one of those very much a play-draw dependent thing. We are both, Socrates can be a little bit more faster and more consistent. It is a little bit more variable in terms of which of its finishes are able to be cast. As being a singleton format, you don't just get to load up 4 Atraxas and then the occasional silver bullet, such as Iona. You're a little bit more dependent on that. That said, stack interaction certainly favours Ed. The very nature of the kind of Bolus's Citadel going off the top, making sure you can play your entire library, kind of soft punishes or soft prevents you from playing any sort of counter magic. You have to play all proactive spells. So while Socrates is able to clear a path and quite consistently quickly get a combo off, Ed does have that little bit of an advantage in able to interact with that. However, Soc is then on the other foot. If Ed, in this case, as we've seen, gets off a turn to Iona, can't really do much about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing one thing and one thing only, and that is enacting their game plan with complete disregard. One ship is trying to pass the other in the night.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Ed has a couple of fog lights.
It does have a couple of fog lights. The interesting thing here as well is, the variance in what threat Ed is reanimating. So we're going to see some optionality in what is actually going to be able to close out a deck like Socrates.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Iona is one of the best possible cards, as we see here, as it has been preventing things like Thought Thief, which was put back. We've got a Cabal Ritual in hand, which is unable to be cast, which would be really good to kind of continue this plethora of spells with the Aetherflux Reservoir. So that is the best possible one. Something like a Grizzlebrand, not as kind of powerful. Valgavoth, quite possibly a lot better in the fact that it
Starts exiling everything that happens.
Starts exiling everything.
Yeah.
I believe that the graveyard would be used by Socrates in the form of something like Yawgmoth's Will. So Iona, Valgavoth, Archon, not as much. There's not a lot of creatures, but the discard and the kind of pressure that card can really present over, being a 2-turn kill, really dealing, 9
nine is a lot
Yeah.
bigger than 7 in this. A turn 2 clock versus a 3-turn clock, let's say, really lowering the options and the outs. As we saw in this game, Socrates being able to find that Sensei Stop really opened up the match a little bit. And had that draw not happened, then we would have seen this wrapped up quickly for Ed.
Yeah, the Atraxa there is an interesting one. While it is one of the best cards in a lot of matchups, both kind of stabilizing the board and providing card advantage, if Ed reanimates it or gets it into play quite quickly from show and tell and does not see any permission, it's really not doing very much. So that's one of the kind of more swingy cards.
Show and tell interesting in this matchup as well.
Does let people put in artifacts.
It does allow people to put in an artifact as well. So should there be a Bolus Citadel in hand, then we can see that actually become a real problem for Ed.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Socrates also plays Bolus Citadel, but that remains to be seen. So we're still working our way through this. It is very important that communication is kept clear between both players.
Yeah, particularly in a matchup like this, we like to just make sure that everything's above board and that the players all understand the board state. We're sitting here with, what cards in hand do we have for Socrates? And this is mid-brainstorm.
Yes, so I see a Cabal Ritual to the far right. I can't quite see that second to far right card. It's a Zuran Orb from the Vault. Relics,
Relics, one of the first ones.
One of the
not
first
one.
Yeah. Yes, which in itself caused a lot of contention with its reprinting of Mox Diamond. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was potentially another land, or does like to play, I believe it's Wizard's Fireworks from Lord of the Rings. And there's a particular,
there we go. Yeah.
the particular scroll art, which itself kind of plays as a pseudo Pentad Prism. So it may be that card. Of those cards, what would be kept?
I think either way, there's not much that's going to get Socrates out of this situation.
No.
So there's going to be the ability to cast things like the Cabal Ritual to add
Well, they
spells.
can't cast the Cabal Ritual.
Oh, they can't cast.
Iona
They
is on
can't
one.
even cast that.
No.
There we go. So what you would be looking at in a hand like this is usually to find something that's going to close out the game, and I just don't think that we're going to see that steady supply of cards that Socrates needs to get back into this.
And with, on 3 life against 14 power in the air, they'd need to cast a 4th spell to gain to 7, a 5th spell to go up to 12, and then a 6th spell to even get out of range of those 2 flying creatures.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
So just making sure everyone's keeping track of all the actions that have happened this turn, because we've seen a couple of spell.
And here we see the lineup of teams. So all 3 matches happening in a row here on our coverage. We see Dougs versus Marco down the back. Dougs being one of our feature match players from yesterday with a really interesting legacy-style Maverick deck, which it looks like he's on again today. So Strip Mine showing there, as well as an Expedition map and a Springleaf Nantuko, a couple of other cards, and a very interesting, is that a forest there?
That is apparently a forest. I think it's one of those weird pixelated ones. That would be a Jund list. I think there's 2 Junds and an Ed for that matchup.
Okay.
And looking at the Jund list, that's a quick and end of a game there. Looks like the Jund player certainly quite light on lands, and the Dougs with their overwhelming mana advantage, overwhelming card advantage, and the insect token rounding it out.
Yeah, so
Might be going to a second game or a third. I'm unsure at this point.
we'll have to find out. Some interesting rules in team trios. We get to have a look and see if we can the full match, and we'll see if they're actually all packing up. One of the rules of this is that if 2 people win in the team,
On one
the
side.
whole thing's done.
Yeah, doesn't matter on the third. You know, you could play it out for funsies, but it's not going to affect the whole
It won't affect the results. So often we'll see moments like that where some people are just cracking into a game 3, but then the match ends anyway.
Yep.
I've had some fun moments with that one.
Yes, you're like, oh, I'm ahead on board. I'm finally going to get the win. Team let me down.
Usually I keep a bad 5 and then my teammates pull me out.
So it looks like the call has been resolved and we are moving on to a game 2 in our feature match. Sideboarding appears to be happening now. Not exactly sure of the result of that judge call, but we've jumped back over to our third match.
Yeah.
A Jund Mirror.
A Jund Mirror.
Jund
So it always amazes me with all the options of Highlander who likes to play Jund.
Yes, I mean, look at these absolute standard all-stars. Sentinel of the Lost City versus Deadpool.
Yeah, Deadpool, and it looks like we've got a bit of Goyf tribal happening on the other side of that. But it's interesting to see what Deadpool chose to copy here. Copying Pyrogorf is one of its strongest modes.
Absolutely. Until and I have Spellbomb. But
that's also true.
so, looking at this one, I would suspect that the Deadpool's taken one of the Goyfs, but we can't be sure of that one.
Looks like we just got news that that match that we just saw the end of there went to Dukes there. So the Socrates team up 1-0 overall.
Okay, lovely. Not exactly sure which game we are in for this Jund Mirror. It could very well be game 1 because Jund Mirrors tend to go a long time.
Okay, so looking down the table there, and it looks like we're sideboarding for the feature match still, by the looks of that. 19 minutes on the clock. We've got to get those guys started, I think.
Absolutely. So, in the middle of sideboarding, Ed's looking at a Into the Floodmoor, something that can potentially disrupt the Storm combination, getting rid of potentially this Rakshasha's
Bargain.
A bargain.
It's a bargain, mate.
A bargain at 6 mana, 3 mana, 4 or the rest.
Yeah.
A more expensive card selector spell, you just need to be interacting on turns 1, 2, 3, and reloading a hand on 3 just might not be quite good enough.
I do have a question for you though, Russell. What is your favourite mana to pay for a Rakshas's Bargain?
The favourite combination of mana?
No, the favourite mana value.
The favourite mana value? 3, but it counts as 6 for my Beanstalk.
Well, that's pretty good. I preference 5.
Why 5?
Because it gives me a lot of flexibility. I've been playing a lot of it in Khans Limited.
I did splash it in a Teamer deck. So
there you go.
Paying for 4 mana. That was quite
good. 4
good.
mana, not bad. Yeah. We've seen that pop up in a lot of Highlander decks. It's kind of interesting, the sort of cards that you'll see come out of a new set release that make it into Highlander. Often you'll see a lot of Magic content highlighting the most powerful cards for a 4-of format. And then once we get to Highlander, though, maybe something fits a specific niche and it wouldn't otherwise see play, but we do play it here.
Yeah, or it's, the second best iteration of a card that you'd love to have 4 of, so that's the one you get.
That's the one you get.
We've seen Dig Through Time into Stock Up, into Rakshas's Bargain.
Yep.
One of them is pointed, the other 2 aren't.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing the kind of emergence of these pseudo spells, I suppose you'd call them. Ed looks like they were taking out Oath of Druids, which has to be causing them psychic damage and physical harm, as it is their favourite card, but unfortunately not too good in a matchup where your opponent really isn't playing any creatures.
Yeah, mono artifact combo, not the strongest matchup for Oath of Druids, but...
Unless you have the Forbidden Orchard.
Unless you have the Forbidden Orchard, which we did have last game, but I think that we're going to plan on doing a little bit more interruption.
So
now that Ed's aware of what the strategy is.
Looks like Torin's the aggressor here. A chump block by the Orcish Bowmaster token on the Pyrogoyf, which has got some counters, probably from map tokens from that excellent Sentinel of the Lost City.
Yeah, it's doing a lot of work here, which is interesting. Standard playable, but not a card that I've played much with in Highlander.
Yeah, you wouldn't call it an all-star, maybe a 2-star?
A 2-star?
A standard 2-star.
Okay, sure.
A fringe role player.
Look, I'll say that if you can cast it, you tend to. I've seen that even in the red aggro decks at some points. So a 3/4 that makes maps, end attacks. It's like the world's smallest Titan.
Does it not have vigilance, or am I just...
It does have vigilance,
Right.
but
Might be tapped by something.
it may be tapped by something else. And who knows if it even has this text.
It may, in fact, be a Deadpool.
It may be a Deadpool. Okay, so we see a Voidwalker here.
Good to start with, but Graveyard's already pretty flush at the moment, feeding those Tarmogoyfs. And it looks like the Undercity has been introduced somehow.
Yeah, so some adventures getting played.
Some initiatives happening.
Some people going on.
Taken, re-given.
Taken, re-given, taken again, re-given again.
All right.
Voidwalker quite good at that.
Let us return to the action.
Okay, it looks like we've resulted game 1 with a win to Ed Nurse. 1-0 in this feature match.
And potentially a mulligan.
It does seem like we're going to a 6.
Sock keeping 7, one of the scariest things that can happen.
So this is probably the second time Ed's mulliganed all weekend.
He did admit to mulliganing 3 times over the course of yesterday.
3 times?
3 times.
It's
a new record.
I think I've lost a bet there.
Yes. So this might be the 4th total mulligan Ed has taken over.
His lifetime, I believe.
Lifetime, yes.
Yeah,
lifetime, yeah. You
think
could
that's what
probably keep track of it as single digits. We got one back.
Okay, one back.
That is a force negation and a mind break trap.
Okay, and it's a life/death going to the bottom there.
It is a life or death game, but the card itself is not that useful. And a ley line of the void straight off the top. Ed has done the correct thing and drawn all their hate. Must have shuffled by piles of 8.
Is that the rule?
Yes, piles by 8.
There
draw
we go.
your hate. Fast bond though.
Fastbond as the lead. This is an interesting decision point here for Ed. We'll see if he allows it to resolve or whether we're going to force on turn 0.
Yeah, it would eat, I think, the mind break trap as well, both of which
Is that a mind break trap?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yes, it's a mind break trap, so he's going to do it.
He's
All
going to
right.
do it.
Feels like he's got the graveyard covered, so fast bond is kind of a different kind of pressure, and preventing that is really important to him. That all being said,
Still short of threat.
however, we see a Faceless Looting and an Exhume. So the second they draw a threat, he can really instigate his game plan.
I get immediate nerves as soon as Ed leads any game with a Flooded Strand after yesterday.
Yes, well, he hasn't fetched it for a Badlands yet.
Yes, we'll hope we keep him
let's-
away from that. Hopefully we can go get that Volcanic Island.
All right, let's see what you got. Smoke him if you got him. Inquisition of Kozilek. I ask you, what are we looking at? Well,
Okay, Into the Floodmoor is actually a great card to take here, as is Assassin's Trophy, so a real choice.
and is Bolus's Citadel.
You cannot take that with an Inquisition.
Why not?
Because
How
that
much-
is not the rules.
I thought it cost 3 from Tinker.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry,
That's
my friend.
not how
Only
mechanics
from
work.
your library.
What?
Yes.
Impossible. All right, Trophy or Into the Floodmoor?
Interesting not to Into the Floodmoor in response here. I think that could have been a valid option there from Socrates, but
They're both answers.
They're both answers, and it looks like we're just going to
Ed,
not allow the fish token.
Ed does not want to fish.
No fish.
Not a pescatarian.
No fish, you. Okay, so we got the Surveil. Surveil's actually resolving now, so whatever, if it does hit the graveyard, it will be exiled.
So it doesn't hit the graveyard.
Well, there you go. Replacement effects are confusing.
Yes. Still has the Assassin's Trophy for that Leyline of the Void, although we are resolving that already, so we can't do that in response.
Okay,
And Ed just passing back, consigned to memory the draw.
good card here.
That one actually can interact with the Boulder Citadel, right? Right?
Yes, it can.
No.
Oh, no. Every time.
It's not a colorless spell.
Okay, so we're seeing the Assassin's Trophy, so Ed going to get a basic land here. We've just got news through that this is the deciding match, so these teams turn up at 1-1 in terms of game score.
So this is going all the way.
Okay, looks like we're also dealing with an extension based on the earlier judge call.
Yes. So, graveyard freed up
Okay, Ed's finally hit his third land
off of that Assassin's Trophy.
off the Assassin's Trophy, so freeing up that mana a little bit, so we might see some more action on this next turn.
That's a good one. A Black Lotus.
It is. It's no Black Lotus, but it's black enough.
It's still a card deposit. And potentially a boat.
There's no way of knowing. Okay, so a Flooded Strand crack here. Don't get the Badlands, Ed. Don't do it. It's the Volk. Fantastic.
Right.
Illegal play.
And that consign might be helpful here.
I think we'll see that quickly replicated at this Black Lotus. Replicate, especially valuable to get around counter spells.
Is this the most expensive consigned memory this weekend? That's
There's an interesting thing.
It looks like a beta Lotus. A blackboard Lotus.
It has exchanged for the most money today so far.
And Sock just working out their options, although I don't think they have any sort of counterplay. And that one is not going to land. And Ed has a little bit more breathing room for now.
For now, yeah. I mean, if that Bolus Citadel was going to hit the stack this turn, that would be a real problem. So we've seen a card draw. It looks like a show and tell to me.
Yes.
It looks like we're leading with the Faithless Looting.
Yeah, we might get rid of that one.
Yeah, I think it's particularly problematic at the moment with knowing about the Citadel.
Yes, I don't think you can realistically play it. We've got a Cataxian Probe and an Exhume potentially being kept in the bay, being discarded along with that show and tell.
So the rebuy on the flashback of Faithless Looting kind of be pretty good here, I would
Absolutely.
assume.
Bit of velocity. So we're just going to see what that final card is from Sock. Ace of Reservoir, Bolus' Citadel, and...
It's a Noxious Revival.
Oh, that's quite good.
That might do some work here.
Brainstorm from Ed. So potentially a way to interact with what Socrates is about to hopefully set up and then knock down. So, Noxious Revival, likely targeting a Black Lotus.
Yeah, I would go so far as to put money on that one.
But how much money would you put on it?
Well, not the amount that it would cost me to buy the Black Lotus. But
Right, slightly less. Some
slightly
amount
less.
of money.
You know, within the range.
Gambling,
of 0
of course,
to
is
there.
legal. Gambling, of course, illegal in Magic the Gathering, so we cannot name how much we would pay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I would never gamble. You know me.
Absolutely not.
So we see the Noxious Revival do its work, and
Try
we see
again.
the Black Lotus hit the stack again.
All right. We're going
And
to
the stare down from Socrates. Brainstorm.
Sure. Two.
So we see an Archon and a
Swan
Swan
Song.
Song without the mana to cast it,
Yes.
which may, you know, be the Swan Song of Ed in this game.
Maybe Ed's final Swan Song.
Indeed.
So we'll put 2 back. Archon and Exhume, potentially.
Yeah, so it's interesting. To get back into this game, Ed has the option of going for the Archon after dumping it into the bin with the Faithless Looting. However, there's every chance that Socrates can close in the meantime, because Ed's going to need a couple of turns to get the mana for that.
So, Black Lotus resolves. Sacking for some black mana, playing the Citadel, and now Sock begins their grim work.
They begin the grim work.
They are on 20. They have a lot of life to play around with.
All right, so the card on top can be cast.
And say Dark
Ritual. So we've added some mana, cost ourselves a life.
We have Storm Count, Lotus, Brainstorm, Bolus' Citadel, Dark Ritual.
Touche.
That's 4, right?
I have no idea.
No,
No, it looks like we're on 3 at the moment. The player's helpfully
look at these
keeping us a storm
gorgeous
count.
counters.
Yeah, there we go. So the third spell is Dark Ritual. Should be 4 because of the Brainstorm, but
there we go. So, have another look. 1 life paid.
I think they're probably keeping the 3 because Etherflux Reservoir cares about the amount of spells you play, not the storm count. So it seems to be they're keeping a relevant tracker for them.
Land drop played.
Okay, so one of the most important things about Bolus Citadel is the amount of lands you can play, which is the normal amount, right? 1.
1 normally.
1 normally. Fastbond's gone from this game. It's already been exiled.
Yes.
So if we have Socrates hitting something like a couple lands in a row, the storm count will end for the turn, and looks like that's what's happened.
But Etherflux Reservoir in play now.
In play now.
Thanks to that Dark Ritual. Ed has a turn.
Ed has a turn here, so it looks like we're probably going to see the Faithless Looting and the Swan Song kept up.
Yes.
And I think that what Ed's going to be praying for here is to see Socrates hit another sequence of land before they can kill.
That said, he has tapped his mana, and the land in his hand is the Badlands.
That was a interesting play.
Spell Song. Swan Song.
Swan Song here.
Spell Song?
Spell called
Spelly,
Swan Song. Swanny. Look, I actually think here from Ed, the play might be, and it looks like he's discarded the Badlands here as well. It may be to protect himself on the turn where he already has the Archon in play, because that is the most important.
Necropotence. How potent is your Necro?
7.
7?
Yeah.
7 potents. 3 life paid, down to 16.
Yeah, so we're down to 16 here, back up to 17 off the Ether Box Reservoir.
This is
It's going to be some recording going on, guys.
This is fun math time, and I am historically bad at that, and history also.
Well, there's no way of knowing.
And that is a Limdul Vault, question mark? I believe of Limdul Vault, question mark.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ed, for packing it up and making it a lot easier for us
Yeah,
here in the
so
coverage booth.
Really good stuff there. I think once you know that win is on board.
Yes.
Basically, the win's on board there.
Yep.
That we know what's going to happen.
Sensei's Divining Top.
Sensei's Divining Top's going to start looping itself with another spell.
You're gaining a lot
Got
of life.
We're infinite at that point. So Ed deciding to, take the time left in the round and use it to see if he can win game 3.
Yes, so that extension has left us with 13, just under 13 and a half minutes left for the end of the round here. Bit of a dexterity error from Ed, but that's okay. We forgive him for that.
Yeah, we like him anyway. All right, so
Game 3.
Game 3, Ed probably going to try and be the proactive player with the mana advantage on the play here. I think there's a lot of powerful things he can do to shut Socrates out relatively quickly. So we'll see if Ed gets what he wants here.
He needs to get the right one, and that is what we mentioned before. Something like Atraxa, very good in most matchups because it gives you time and resources. Socrates is not giving you any time. Socrates does not care how many resources you have.
That's true.
Because he's completely ignoring the HMAS nurse and going straight for the captain.
Yeah.
Which is nurse.
Also nurse?
Yes.
It must be a nurse's ship.
Yes.
The
medical officer nurse.
The medical officer.
And captain of the ship.
Captain of the ship. Also cabin boy.
Yes, he has swapped the poop decks for days now.
Okay,
He's
there we
dehydrated.
go. Out in the which ocean are they in?
Antarctic.
That's not an ocean.
Look, I told you I'm bad at maths. I'm bad at history. We're going to add geography to that list.
Okay.
It will continue to grow. I am an idiot.
All right, thank you very much, Russell of the Seven Seas. As we're going into game 3, it looks like we're still shuffling up, but we're getting the presentation now. Fingers crossed that both these players get a hand that they like.
It is much more entertaining if both of them have action, have interaction, and fan faction.
Fan faction?
Yes.
Okay.
Faction with the fans. We have fans, right? You ordered the fans.
No comment.
Oh no. Ed mulliganing for the 5th time?
Yeah, I think we've determined this arbitrarily that it is the 5th time total. Yep. I think, really going for the power here from the mulligan is a great move.
Yes.
And I think it's something that we should all be doing.
Threw away Lotus Petal, Mental Misstep I saw, some other cards I didn't, but probably did not have the land. Sock deliberating with the rest of their team as to whether E is holding the best or the worst hand of all time.
There's no way of knowing at the moment, but let's have a look.
I feel like there's a Lotus in there. I can't quite see. All of his cards are very shiny and odd.
Yeah, so Socrates playing his hands close to the chest. And then here we go. There's 7 at best.
But one goes back.
One goes back, though. So we see a Swan Song as an interaction piece, a Spell Pierce. It looks like a Mystical Tutor.
A Worldly Tutor?
A Worldly Tutor. And what's that last card on there?
Probe, potentially?
Maybe a probe, something like that.
2 lands. Swanee going back. Swanee staying. Worldly Tutor going back. Question mark. Worldly Tutor going back.
Okay.
Maybe. Gives him less of a plan, more interaction, but wanting a little bit of interaction and more of a plan. So
I think Ed probably a little worried about that 10-turn clock.
The 10-minute clock or the 10-turn clock?
10-turn clock from the Swan.
Yes, that's true. Your opponent gets it. Right.
Probe very valuable here. Looks like we've drawn an Inquisition off it as well. So
lovely. So Ponder, Lotus Petal, Jeweled Amulet, Noxious Revival, Dark Ritual, Sensei's Divining Top, and I believe a Mystical Rainforest retro foil.
There we go. Nice stuff there. So we'll see if we're leading on the Inquisition here. I imagine that we will be. Okay. It's just straight away taking the top there. The win condition in a lot of these boards.
Yep. So Jeweled Amulet from Sock there. That is a mana rock that needs a charge. It needs to be charged from land. Every time you want to use it, you kind of get to bank a mana. Bit of an old card, but for whatever reason, it has found quite a home in 7-point Highlander, both in these kind of Storm combo lists, in artifact-based lists, just as a way to give you a little bit of a surge on mana and provide, well, just a piece on the board to be tinkered, to be metal crafted. The art I love.
Yeah, it's great. Really that old school style of Magic art.
Yeah, Dan Fraser-esque, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've gone away from as the decades have gone on with Magic, so we should probably value them, the ones that we get to play in Highlander.
And
one of the best things about the format.
Instead of charging, we're going straight for the Ponder. So that Jeweled Amulet will offer, unless you want to play and sacrifice the Lotus Petal, which I don't think you want to do, no assistance next turn.
Yeah, so interesting to see that play for Metalcraft, but a sequencing decision that's keeping everyone guessing.
I, for one, have no way of knowing.
Okay, looks like the top 3 are going back with the Ponder rather than the Shuffle.
And potentially a land would have been kept, I would imagine.
I would imagine so, yeah. If there wasn't a land in there, I could see that all going back. But with the Dark Ritual in hand, there's the potential for a combo turn to come off very few lands as well. So we'll have to see.
So Raucous Theatre the draw. We've got the Mana Confluence, which probably is going to be the play just to make sure that the Spell Pierce and well, all spells in hand are unlocked for the moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Sock to draw.
Okay.
6 cards. Not a lot of pressure from Ed.
Looks like we might lead with the Lotus Petal here.
Yeah. So this makes me think something might happen? Question mark?
So what's the prediction here? That we're going for it this turn, or are we just deploying the Lotus Petal to get around counter spells?
He's just deploying it this turn. A lot of people will hold on to it to add to the storm count, but I think just getting it on the board, not sure exactly what value it's offering you now, but Sock knows this deck better than more people that I know because he's about the only one that plays it.
It looks like we're seeing an Entomb come out here off the Mystical Tutor.
Right, that'll go on top. That'll be the draw for the turn, and potentially, I don't think it's going to be used straight away. But it does set up Ed for future turns to hopefully get something on the board to threaten Sock, because at the moment, Sock will just be drawing cards, playing lands, hopefully, until they can have their big burst turn.
Okay, so no mystery what the next draw will be from Ed. Turn 3, Entomb off the top.
So we might see the Entomb. Well, we're going to see the Surveil first.
Yeah, so Entomb can happen at any time.
Yeah. It's just more if you want to keep that card, then Entomb is not going to happen for a turn cycle.
That is true. That is true.
Nor the Worldly Tutor. But Spell Pierce is at least kind of holding things up. We're going to see a charge on the Jeweled Amulet, which can be charged at any time.
It looks like the Surveil got kept there by Ed as well. So
Yes.
likely a reanimation spell.
Quite possibly.
Could be a piece of interaction as well, though. Yeah. So we'll have to see.
So blue or black mana can be added to that Jeweled Lotus. We're not exactly sure as to which. Oh, it looks like a blue. And then Sock is untapping with 3 up to 4 or more, thanks to Dark Ritual.
Ooh.
Mana.
Okay, so it looks like a
that is a
non-land. It is a tinker.
That is a tinker. Dark Ritual first.
This is a way to get around this Spell Pierce here. So will depend on what Ed
Very
played.
good.
Okay, so Spell Pierce right here to cut off the mana.
So, unless Sock has a way to answer that with their own
Are we seeing
Veil of Summer?
Veil of Summer?
Veil of Summer.
Veil of Summer as a counter there. So spending 1 mana instead of the 2 on this Spell Pierce.
Right. So that is going to draw Sock a card, add to the storm count. So draw card is drawn.
Yep.
Another artifact. The Dark Ritual cannot be counted.
Yep.
Dark Ritual goes off.
So 3 black mana in pool, plus the Jeweled Amulet in play.
Held. So, Tinker is paid for by the Jeweled Amulet. He's thinking about doing the chromatic stuff first. Quite possibly. There's no way of
It'll be
knowing.
interesting to see if we're going to play in a way that isn't interested in the interaction here.
Blue mana used. 2 off the Dark Ritual used. 1 black mana remaining. Over there. Play the Tinker. Sacrifice that Jeweled Amulet.
All right. We're
Ed
at
can only
Storm 4.
watch.
Ed can only watch. It has been sacrificed. There is a search.
To make great gains, one must make great sacrifices, and a trinket little amulet becomes a giant monolithic structure.
Oh my God. Bolas, what have you done?
Bolas is once again trying to despark the entire planeswalker population to consolidate power into his own kind of...
Greedy but giant hands.
Yes.
Yes.
Clawed hands.
Claude.
Bolus
One
is
of my
back, by the
favourite
way.
names.
Yeah. Bolus is back.
I mean...
And construction will begin shortly of
the
Citadel Point 2.
I am really looking forward to Bolus's new Citadel.
Yes. Maybe Bolus's Megalopolis.
Megalopolis?
Megalopolis?
There's no way of knowing.
Bolus's Megalopolis.
I will take a pyramid. I'll take a, holiday home. Bolus's holiday home, perhaps? That'll go around.
Inquisition to Kozilek. Off the top.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to see the Entomb in response here.
Yep.
Shuffling away the card that was kept on top.
Yep. Wants to get something in the yard.
Yeah, give himself an out
Yes.
to get a threat next turn.
So debating between something like Iona or Valgavoth, which I mentioned normally would be the two kind of heavy hitters.
Mm-hmm.
I think Iona is good because it stops Citadel more often from continuing. It puts more roadblocks. Instead of just 2 lands in a row, it can be whatever colour, right?
Yeah.
We still need to get that Iona into play for it to have that impact, but it just puts more kind of roadblocks in the way.
So the Worldly Tutor, the only legal target for the Inquisition here, so going to the graveyard.
Down it goes.
So essentially, Ed's been able to put 3 cards into the bin this turn
Buried
and
alive.
is now looking for any card to reanimate this Iona off the top.
Bayou played. Land
But
played.
until that can happen, Socrates
Fast Bond played.
keeps going. So
That's-
fast bond, that's a
good.
big deal here.
So, Fast Bond.
So
Go
one of
ahead,
the
Hayden.
restrictions now with this Bolas Citadel will be the life total.
Gone. Gone is the land restriction.
Okay, so an extra life off the fast bond.
So we need to keep track of both the converted mana cost of spells played, the lands played
Yes.
off the Fast Bond,
Yes.
and Storm Count.
And Storm Count. The Mishra's Bauble here, one of the free life things he can do. Everything with a mana value or a land cannot be done.
So, and also Phyrexian mana.
Okay.
Okay, using the mana, paying full cost.
Just paying a green for this Noxious Revival.
Getting back
a Tinker.
to then sacrifice the Bauble.
And then probably go get the Reservoir?
Ace Flux Reservoir, most likely. Then that removes the life restriction, and we are pretty much done.
All right, given that we're at Storm roughly
10-ish?
10, if that the
10-ish?
tokens are to be
Trusted?
trusted here.
I don't trust a token.
Yeah.
I need to see a full card.
That's true, that's true.
That is just a representative state.
Okay.
It could be anything.
It could be anything,
It could be a ship.
even a Chrome Mox. Okay, so Chrome Mox,
And we need to know how many spells.
it is the 11th spell I'm hearing from the table judge. And
So-
that means that we're basically going to go all the way through this graveyard, this library. And
We're just working out if Reservoir backdates.
it does backdate, yeah,
Alright.
it does,
That's quite good.
yeah.
So, Sock now on many life.
So Yawgmoth's Will,
Right.
so pay 3 life, gain 12.
Good. Good.
Not bad.
No.
Not bad, a good deal for a
Would
Yawgmoth's Will.
you pay 3 life to gain 12?
Would I do that?
Yes.
I don't know, I'd have to think about it.
What if you also got to do other things after that?
Well, it depends. Do I have to make choices? And
Unfortunately, life is a series of choices.
no, that is true. My choice here is to spend it with you, Russell Cutting, on MTG Bazaar coverage. Looks like we're seeing the end of this matchup, an LED hitting the battlefield, and a Yawgwill being able to rebuy it infinitely. So we have infinite mana, looking something like infinite life, and the only thing we're really missing at this point is the Zuran Orb, but we can tinker for that at any moment as well.
Yeah, I don't even think we need the Zuran Orb. It's just enough spells for the Ace Flux Reservoir to
Yeah, absolutely.
pop. And Socrates at 63 the last time we checked. Ed Nurse is under 50 life,
All right.
and that's going to be the match.
That is going to be the match. So just coming in under the clock there, handshakes all around to the other teammates as well. Good
They-
sportsmanship shown there.
Use every second of that clock. Good for them.
Absolutely,
And
absolutely.
so congratulations to the team of Socrates, Dukes, and Beckett, putting Nurse and co, HMS Nurse, into the shore.
Into the
Capsized.
shore, into the shore. Maybe they've been reefed for the moment, but just dropping to X1. They're still in it. We might see them later again today.
Absolutely. That was an absolute cracker of a match. Extremely complicated lines played by both players. Absolute nail biter until it absolutely was not.
Yeah, once it's over, but you never
pretty
know.
quick.
Welcome back. I'm Sam Lloyd. This is Russell Cutting.
Allegedly.
allegedly Russell cutting. Thanks for joining us here today. We're currently at the end of round 3, and we're going to try and get some...
Lunch?
Lunch? No. Okay, so we're in lunch. We've gone over time a little bit, but we're going to just quickly leave you for a second, and we'll be back with round 4.
Have a good one. Farewell.